Welcome to Sinkowitz, hosted by the fearless Linda Sinkowitz. She's syncing you up with the latest in election integrity, from breaking headlines to critical updates you won't hear anywhere else. With Linda, it's facts first as she leads the fight for one vote for one legal voter. Stay informed, stay empowered. Let's jump in.
Hi, and welcome to Sinkowitz. I'm Linda Sinkowitz, the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. I want to thank everyone who's watching us on OBBM Network TV, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, and all the other platforms. So thank you. So this week, my guest is Louis Herms. He is actually running for governor in California. He'll be on in just a moment. Oh, I got to throw $5 in the kitty. I know. I got to turn my ringers on my phone. Oh, my goodness. I'm the one who gets slapped this time. Okay. And the states we're going to use: Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, Nevada, North Carolina. We'll go to the election terms, election trivia, national news, our vote notes, international, and then at the end, as always, my final thoughts, which are completely unscripted. All right, let's go to our guest of the week, and it's Louis Herms. Thank you so much for coming on.
So good to be here, Linda. Appreciate it.
So you're running for governor in California, but you also have an election integrity group called Clear Election, and that's at clearelection.net.
Correct.
So I'm going to give you the floor.
Sure. So in the midst of running for governor, we've been seeing some very odd election anomaly type things. And I've been not only studying, but exposing and have done films in regards to elections for several years. In fact, I was asked to speak during the Maricopa County 2022 debacle in front of the Board of Supervisors and on RSBN because of our background and knowledge in this. So what we did with Clear Election, I created also a tour. So the first thing we did is we sent President Trump a 10-point election request for California. We kind of called it California or bust because we knew how important it was here in order for him to do an emergency order, not a standard executive order, but emergency order to implement some things in here to the upcoming federal election, which he has the power to do in our belief system. We got a lot of people to sign on to it. Even several gubernatorial candidates signed on to it. The top election reform people signed on to it. So that was step one. Step two is I went to Shasta County, which is, I would say, the premier county within California of transparency, to completely investigate their systems, took video, spent some time with Clint Curtis, and then with some help from some very smart people, we created our own transparency system. It's really based on Shasta's system, and we put it up on clearelection.net. And what that does, it not only shows the ROVs, which would be the register of voters, some places are election clerks, it shows exactly what we expect of them step by step and how they can implement it for very, very low cost. Why it's so important in California is because it's mandated, it's mandatory, I should say, that they use the machines, the tabulators. So there's a way to protect of getting around that. That's by putting a camera before, on top, and afterwards with a clock affiliated with that. Very, very simple. I believe currently Shasta is the only one that has full transparency, and they could even do better. So what we did is we put all that, and now we have a scorecard that we're just starting to implement on the website of all 58 counties. So I thought, how can we possibly go farther? And what I decided to do is we took a tour and we visited every single, which is unprecedented, every single county register of voters. That's all 58 in the state of California. And we asked for interviews, and several of them, I think well over 30, well over half of them interviewed with us. What I quickly found out, which I thought was fascinating, is if my team and my imagination was that the problem was at the clerk's office, the register of voters, we were wrong. I think probably a 10 to 15% of them may be compromised and may be doing something wrong. But what it appears is that most of the problem is not only the machines, which we know, but it's what's going on outside their office. So much that I got them to admit several times that if there's elections are stolen outside of the office, what happens when those ballots come into your office? Unilaterally, they say, California just tells us we have to count them. So I think that's a good jumping off point for us.
Oh my goodness. It's bad enough in California. In order to register, you just go in and just give them your name. You don't give them any information at all.
Nope, nope,
And
nothing.
I saw an interview, I forgot who was doing it, that the person behind the counter just said, well, Californians are on the honor system.
Yeah, that was actually at a register of voters. We actually had a discussion. That person, she was an administrator, not a top administrator, just a low level administrator. And she's actually introduced us to the ROV in the county. So what happens is it's really sad. So if you ever look at the California elections rules, there's about 3 books and they're very, very thick, which
Oh
is
my God.
interesting. So you would think that 3 books that thick would mean that we have extraordinarily integrity in our elections. No, it's just mass confusion. And I think it's intentional. So what
Well,
happens is we heard the same mantra over and over. It's almost like they've been talked to and said how to respond to certain questions. Well, California says this is the way they have to do it. We're just following California law. We're well within California law. We do our 1% audit. It's California law. Hey, everybody wants mail-in voting. This is what we hear. They just love it. The people just love mail-in voting. It's the same mantra over and over. So when we heard it the first few times, I thought, okay, similarities. But when you hear it over the swath of the whole state, now we understand that these are talking points that they're given. And if they're
now,
talking points that they're given, it raises a major red flag for me that they would even need talking points.
are your register of voters, are they elected or are they appointed? Are they Republican or Democrat or both?
Yeah, well, they're supposed to be nonpartisan. Most of them are elected, but some
Okay.
are appointed. And it's the game when they are appointed is very similar to school boards, which are very fraudulent, and other things. Is what they do is
Mhm.
they put an interim in there, and then the next thing you know, the interim becomes the register of voters. Even worse, many register of voters, when they play a game, when they're about ready to quit or leave, they leave early. So there's an interim there. That name is established. So automatically people say, well, we'll vote for them. They've already been doing it for a year, right? The
Right.
gamesmanship is just ridiculous. And we're talking about our elections here. It's scandalous. So I know we talk a lot about election integrity. And I tell all my friends, I say, can we not talk about integrity anymore? Let's talk about reform. And then we'll worry about the integrity of the election after reform them because they are just messed up.
Yeah, and it is actually across the entire country. Everybody who thinks that their
Absolutely.
voter rolls and their election officials, oh, they're all wonderful. There's no issues, and it's wrong. The whole
Yeah.
system, as you said, needs a reform. So, since we're talking about that, again, you are running for governor in California, and you want to just let the audience know what you would do if you became governor of California?
Sure. Well, as the anti-politician, I'm probably going to go against the grain. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do a full forensic audit on California's budget. Why is that important? I predicted over a year and a half ago that the budget is probably 75% what I call WARF, waste, abuse, redundancy, and fraud. And now it
Mhm.
seems, based on the information we're getting, I might even be low, which would be crazy, right? So we're going to do a full forensic audit, dig in as deep as we possibly can, and
Mhm.
extract the information based on the markers that we put into the system to figure things out. If I'm only 50% right, and we eliminate 50%, that's a game changer for California because now we go to a massive surplus instead of these deficits and these fake balances that they've been doing for a long time. And that gives us a chance to completely eliminate property taxes, eliminate income taxes,
Mhm.
because you have enough coming in from sales taxes and other revenue sources. You don't need to tax to death the people. So imagine if we don't have property tax and
Wow.
income tax is gone. Business will flood into California so fast, the economy is just going to boom immediately. Imagine one simple thing like that, just straightening out the budget fixes so many things. We will get pushback, and we understand this because the wharf, as I call it, is a front for theft. And that's what's really going on. Is we have massive theft all throughout the country based on these administrations that are just laundering money and paying off political payoffs, their lobbyists, their friends, their NGOs, and themselves, right? So we know there's going to be pushback, and they're going to put massive lawfare towards that. We'll win in the end because we'll have all the goods to prove it, though.
Excellent. So California, are they voting now, correct?
They are, because the mail-in vote started on May 4th.
Oh, so you have an election season, just like Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia,
it'd be nice if it was
Virginia's
election
45
day.
days.
Yeah, it's about 28 days here, I believe.
Unbelievable. So June 2nd, I believe, is
June 2nd is the primary day, and I've been preaching at the top of my lungs for so many years. Primaries are so much more important than the general election currently. And the reason why is because the parasites that control things spend all their time and efforts in the primary to make sure that you have two choices that both benefit them. And I call it the illusion of choice. You go back to Plato, Machiavelli used it. It's just absolutely an illusion of choice. So their goal is to get that rhino Republican in there, the Republican in name only, to get them through the primary. So they know they have a compromised Republican, and then they have a compromised Democrat moving forward. So we get excited about the general election. What we're really getting excited about is an illusion of choice. We're getting excited about somebody that's not going to have our benefit to us, on either side. That's the game that's been played for at least 70, 80 years at this point. And we are trying to tell everybody primaries are the most important. Yet we're lucky to get 30% in the primary.
So the primary itself in California doesn't matter what the first two front runners are in the primary. You can be a Democrat, a Republican, independent.
Yep,
you take
exactly right.
the top two. So you can actually have a Republican against a Republican as long as enough people get out and vote.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah,
Right,
we call it a jungle primary. I think they call it an open primary.
Yeah, I like the jungle primary.
Right.
It's like you don't know who you're going to get. Well, Louis, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We are wishing you luck and Godspeed in the primary next week, Tuesday. We would love to have it if you are one of the two. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. You take care.
You too. I want to thank everybody again for watching Louis Herms. He is running for governor in California. We're going to go to a quick break and we'll be right back.
At Fight Voter Fraud, we work to ensure every legal vote is counted, and no unlawful vote ever diminishes the voice of we the people. We're fighting for you in courtrooms and communities nationwide to protect transparency, accountability, and fairness in every election. Our mission is simple: one vote for one legal voter. This is our country. This is our vote. Let's protect it together.
Hi, I'm Linda Sinkowitz from Sinkowitz, and I'm here to tell you about an exciting new series that we have just added called Sinkowitz Presents Candidate Spotlight. And this is open to any candidate, any party, anywhere in the country that wants to have a 20-minute interview. So you can talk about yourself, your platform, your campaign, and we'll help you get it out there. So give us a call, send us an email, or visit our website. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to Sinkowitz. Again, I'm Linda Sinkowitz, the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. And our guest today was Louis Herms. He is running for governor in California. And he also has an election integrity organization himself called clearelection.net. So the first state we're going to talk about this week is Arizona. This is from VoteBeat on May 21st, 2026. Maricopa County election fight boils over as recorder threatens felony charges over unauthorized drop boxes. Now, you'll recall we did talk about what was going on in Maricopa County, and I guess it just kind of continues on. So, the state's election rule book says county supervisors are in charge of setting drop box locations. Recorder Justin Heap sees it differently, escalating a long-standing and messy battle over election control ahead of the primary. A messy and long-standing feud between Maricopa County Recorder Justin Heap and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors over the control of key swing elections has spilled over into a new arena. On Wednesday, Heap sent a letter to the board asserting that his office's authority over ballot drop boxes and warning that election workers who handle ballots deposited in, quote, unauthorized, unquote, receptacles could face criminal penalties. The letter, written by Heap's attorney, arrived hours before the county supervisors were set to take up a routine vote on drop box locations for the July 21st primary. It set the stage for a lengthy and fiery meeting that put the divisions between the county's mostly GOP officials on full display. Well, it kind of goes on and on and on, but the whole thing was that the Maricopa County Election Commission overtook Heap's position and his stuff, and the judge said, you got to give it back. And then the election officials were saying, oh, but there's not enough time to get this done. And the judge said, too bad. Basically, too bad. You need to get this fixed. So this is another wrinkle that has come up. So Heap's attorney threatens the charges for ballot harvesting as well. Rogers' letter further alleges that supervisors could be opening themselves and the workers up to felony charges by maintaining control over the drop box locations. He pointed to ARS 16-1005, which prohibits a person or entity from collecting ballots by, quote, misrepresenting itself as an election official or as an election ballot repository, unquote. Quote, any person or entity involved in establishing or operating such unauthorized drop boxes is committing a Class 5 felony. So as you can see in Arizona, it's escalating. Not surprised. Next state we're going to talk about is Montana. Montana, this is from the Terry Tribune from May 23rd, 2026. Election Connection 2026. Election changes, ballot rules highlighted ahead of the June 2nd primary. With June 2nd fast approaching us, I wanted to make sure the voters are aware of the changes beyond the election administrator's control due to preliminary injunction District Court Judge Adam Larson granted on May 8th, 2026 against Senate Bill 490. For months, election administrators across the state have been conducting outreach and education for voters regarding Saturday and same-day registration enacted by the Senate Bill 490. All right. They also wanted to make sure to touch on the important information for absentee voters who should have already received their ballots and are preparing to cast their ballots for June 2nd federal primary. This I couldn't get over. Voters will receive 3 ballots, but are only able to vote on one. This is due to Montana having open primaries, meaning voters do not declare a party when registering to vote and are able to cast a ballot of their choice, Libertarian, Democratic, or Republican. If multiple ballots are voted, they will be rejected. Voters should discard their unvoted ballots. It's also required that absentee voters write both their birth year and signature on the absentee ballot return envelope. 2 red arrows indicate where to write this information. A ballot will be rejected if either detail is missing. Election staff will reach out to every voter with a rejected ballot to attempt to resolve the issue before 5 p.m. on Wednesday, June 3rd. I still can't get over the fact that they get 3 ballots. And they just want to also make sure that everyone knows an inactive voter means an elector did not vote in a federal election and did not respond to 2 confirmation mailings sent by the county election office, or had a mail ballot returned to the county election office as undeliverable and did not respond to a confirmation mailing sent to you by the county election office pursuant, and it goes through the particular statute. So, man, I can't get over that. 3 ballots. Only use 1. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's got to have, one for Libertarian, 1 for Democrat, 1 for Republican, and but they can pick anyone they want, which is just so ridiculous. I know that Texas is trying to get away from the open primaries because you can put in somebody that you want your party to run against who may be a poor choice for the other part. I mean, why do that? Tim, I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. New Jersey. This is from the New Jersey Senate Republicans on May 21st, 2026. Corrado bill to preserve election integrity passes committee. The Senate State Government Wagering, Tourism, Historic Preservation Committee passed Senator Kirsten Corrado, she's a Republican from Bergen, Essex, and Passaic, bipartisan bill to preserve election integrity in New Jersey by prohibiting the Motor Vehicle Commission, the MVC, from prompting non-citizens to register to vote. You think that would be a no-brainer, but we here in Connecticut know that it's not. Quote, as a former county clerk, I understand the pressure of our local election officials face to maintain accurate voter rolls while ensuring every eligible voter has easy access to the ballot box, said Senator Corrado. This legislation provides important clarity to the Motor Vehicle Commission that they are not prompting non-citizens to register to vote, which protects the integrity of our elections while preserving the ease and accessible voter registration process that eligible New Jersey voters currently enjoy. You can read the bill S-4132. Step in the right direction. I'm glad it came from the Senate Republicans in New Jersey. The Democrats would never do that. Did I say that, Tim?
Something good came out of New Jersey?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so now our next state is Nevada. Nevada, this is from NBC News 3, and this was from May 20th. U.S. Attorney's Office in Nevada to enforce federal voting laws ahead of the 2026 election. As mail-in ballots go out across Nevada ahead of the state's primary election, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Nevada is warning that voting in federal elections is limited to eligible U.S. citizens and said it will enforce federal voting laws to protect the 2026 elections. Nevada's primary election will be held on June 9th, 2026. So the U.S. Attorney's Office encouraged eligible citizens to participate in the democratic process while emphasizing that federal law limits participation in federal elections to eligible United States citizens. The office said individuals who are not eligible to vote, including non-citizens who inadvertently received election-related material or ballots, should not complete or submit ballots for federal elections. The right to vote is a fundamental part of our democracy, said First Assistant United States Attorney Sigal Chadha for the District of Nevada. Quote, we encourage every eligible citizen to participate in the election process while also ensuring compliance with federal voting laws that protect the integrity and fairness of our elections. Federal law prohibits non-citizens from voting in elections in Nevada, across the United States, but we know since they're talking about Nevada. And our office will continue working with our law enforcement partners to investigate and pursue credible violations of federal election laws where appropriate. So thank you to the feds in Nevada. Andy Thompson will be very happy to hear that you will be enforcing them. We should probably check to see how his lawsuits and his stuff with the Supreme Court in Nevada is going. So I'll do that later. Our next state is North Carolina. North Carolina, the Carolina Journal is from May 21st, 2026. Commission asks state for $60 million for North Carolina election system overhaul. The Modernization of Election Data System, MEDS, Advisory Commission is urging the General Assembly to appropriate funding for replacing the statewide Election Information Management System, which is the SEAMS. At its Wednesday meeting, the bipartisan 22-member commission approved a resolution requesting $60 million from legislators. During the current short session, it would go for phase 3 of the full replacement. Now, I guess there's a Connecticut-based software company called Reframe Solutions was selected in February as the winning vendor for phase 2, which is a $15 million funded project. The new system should be up and running before the 2028 general election. It should streamline reporting, improve accuracy, and provide real-time public access to campaign finance data. Proposed features include an automated data imports from funding platforms, bulk upload capabilities, guided filling workflows similar to tax software, and integration with financial tools like QuickBooks. So this particular system apparently is in a number of phases. So the second phase was 15 million. Now they're asking for 60. But if you've already completed phase 1 and phase 2, kind of got the legislators over a barrel on that 60 million. We'll see how that works out. Does it need to be done? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so now we're on to our election term of the week. This is from the St. Lucia Electoral Department on May 23rd, 2026. Exit poll. An informal poll taken as people leave the voting booth. Exit polls are used to predict the outcomes of the election before the polls are closed. Seems reasonable, pretty straightforward on what they do. Our election trivia question of the week, and this is from today.com from May 23rd, 2026. What president accepted and dedicated the Statue of Liberty? We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We need your help to ensure one vote for one legal voter. Join Fight Voter Fraud. Request training, get the potential double-registered, double voter data for your town, and donate to support the fight. Visit fightvoterfraud.org, because election integrity starts with you.
Hi, I'm Linda Sinkowitz. I'm the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. I'm very excited to announce Operation Verify Voters 2026. This is where everyone can get involved. Every single person can get involved in helping make sure we have transparent and clean elections. The most important thing is cleaning the voter rolls. Who knows better than you on your street? You know when people have sold their homes. You know when people moved. You know when other people have passed away. Those are people we need to make sure are no longer on the voter rolls. And it's really easy to do. We can help you. What we're going to be doing is setting up training sessions, which you sign up for, and we will walk you through the process. It's simple, it's easy, and everyone can get involved. So you're going to go to fightvoterfraud.org or scan the QR code, and it'll bring you right to our Operation Verify Voters 2026. And our goal is to get every single state involved in this initiative. Everyone can make a difference. Thank you. Hi, and welcome back to Sinkowitz. When I left you a moment or two ago, we had our election trivia question, which was or is, what president accepted and dedicated the Statue of Liberty? All of you that answered Grover Cleveland were correct. I did not know that. Neither did my husband. All right, so now we're going to go on to a national news. This is Spectrum News 1 from May 21st, 2026. Ohio woman accused of illegally voting as a non-citizen acquitted at trial. Non-citizen. A U.S. citizen was found not guilty Tuesday of illegally voting in the 2018 election when she was a lawful permanent resident of the United States. What you need to know, a guilty verdict would have led up to 18 months in prison for Maria DeJoro, who is 63. Franklin County Common Pleas Judge Chris Brown sided with the defense's argument of entrapment. So Brown, a Democrat, said DeJoro's trial testimony lines up with the documentary evidence. She admitted to inconvenient facts like having voted when she knew she was not a citizen. Oh my God, inconvenient facts. I don't know. But she got the idea from and relied on the advice of a Bureau of Motor Vehicles clerk. Ta-da! We had a story earlier, again, them trying to say that, motor vehicle cannot be telling people or signing people up who are non-citizens or, quote, illegal. The defendant testifies she never thought about voting or intended to vote until a BMV clerk, a government official, told her to register, Brown said. The court finds that Ms. DeJoro has proven beyond a preponderance of the evidence an affirmation defense of entrapment. Well, there's one way you can get around it. Just say that the motor vehicle person told you it was okay. But you should know better. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you can't vote. You're not supposed to vote. Unbelievable. I don't know how long she's been voting.
Actually, it's completely believable because the judge was a Democrat.
Oh, Tim says it's completely believable because the judge was a Democrat. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just gotten so nuts that anything that goes before a Democratic judge ends up being tossed out, saying, oh, no, that's okay. You didn't mean to do it. Okay, so now we're going to go on to vote notes. The vote notes comes from WFYI, a public media from May 20th, 2026. Indiana recount fight takes unprecedented step to subpoena voters. I thought this was pretty intriguing. Paula Copperhaven, whom President Donald Trump backed for Indiana Senate District 23, is asking the state's recount commission to subpoena voters in the tight race. The petition accuses some Democrats of improperly voting in the Republican primary race. The majority of the claims made in the petition to contest the election results revolve around 14 voters whom Copenhagen and her attorneys accuse of, quote, crossing over, meaning when voters of one party intentionally pull the opposite party's ballot during a primary election to influence the outcome. We were just talking about that earlier. This accusation is based on social media posts and reports in news stories that some of these supposed voters said they usually vote Democrat, but wanted to vote against the, quote, MAGA challenger, unquote. The petition says these ballots should not be counted because Indiana law requires voters to vote in the Republican primary only if they voted Republican in the last general election or intended to support most Republican candidates in the future. I don't know how they do that. Okay. I guess if they hadn't voted before. The petition states that ballot secrecy should not apply to the case of the 14 voters because they already publicly admitted to crossing over. Copenhagen's team argues the ballot secrecy should only protect lawful voters, not unlawful voters. Quote, when the illegality of a vote is established, the voter may be compelled to state how he cast his illegal vote, the petition says. It's just crazy. At least here in Connecticut, there's a certain time where you register as a Republican, register as a Democrat or unaffiliated independents. Unaffiliated independents and the other parties can't vote in the primaries. There's very specific time. I mean, we do see people switching, but it's actually has to be done months in advance for them to be able. And then, of course, they switch back before the general election. So I don't know. I think that's crazy. Just crazy. We're now on to international news. And the country we're talking about today is Algeria. Now, this is from the IFES, which is the International Foundation for Election Systems, from May 23rd, 2026. July 2nd, 2026 is the election for Algerian National People's Assembly. So the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, that's what they call it. There's this whole long wording that goes along with it. See? And this is their the country flag, I guess. And that was like splattered over everything that I was reading. And in case people are wondering, the population of Algeria back in 2021, which is what they've taken this from, was 44,617,018. They have 24,351,5,051 registered voters as of September 7th, 2024. Their average turnout is 47.43%. So then you have the different scorecards with all of this stuff. And then, yeah, who really cares about that? I'm going to go on to the next part of this. This is what I got out of Wikipedia that has to do with Algeria, because I wanted just a little bit more information than whatever they were trying to tell me that I don't understand. Algeria has a bicameral parliament, of which the People's National Assembly is the lower house. This is made up of 407 seats filled by proportional representation in 77 constituencies. These consist of 69 provinces, or wilayas, of the country, and 8 electoral zones representing the diaspora. Each constituency is allowed a number of seats according to its population. 1 seat per segment of 120,000 inhabitants, plus 1 seat for any remaining segment of 60,000 inhabitants, with a minimum of 3 seats per constituency. The lists are open with preferential voting, without mixing, and an electoral threshold of 5% of votes cast after counting of the votes. The distribution of seats is done according to the method known as, quote, the strongest remainder. I understood most of that. I mean, this is a toughie. So let's see. They have all these different parties and areas, and they're saying which seats they have, but I don't care. I don't know if you care. It's crazy. I can't even pronounce half of them. But what we wanted to do for the program is let people know that we are looking into national elections and a lot of the stuff that's coming up all around the world this year. So there's a number of elections this year. There's a ton next year, but the ones this year are important. So now we're going on to my final thoughts. We have got a number of states that have primaries going on. As we speak, it is election day in Texas for the primary between Ken Paxton and Senator Corn. It's kind of gotten a little vicious in there. And just like couple of the states we talked about, they have open primaries. So at this point right now, Corn has been trying to talk Democrats into voting in the Republican primary, which They can vote in any primary they want. They've been trying to change it in Texas, but I would call that like dirty pool. Really? Really? That's what he has to resort to? Listen, your seat would not have been challenged if you had actually done the right thing, you know? And we're really hoping that with Trump's endorsement of Ken Paxton, he's currently the Attorney General in Texas. Is he perfect? No, he's not. But I think he's got a better shot at doing the right thing than Corn, who's been in there for what? I don't know, 4 decades. Again, this goes for we really need term limits. But the thing that happens is once people get voted in, that will say, oh, we have to have term limits. Then they don't do it. They don't bring it up because they like what they have. I was reading something recently that once you're in the House or Senate, you can have up to 18 people that can work for you. You get all this extra money for things you do. So when you see it say that there is only I don't know, 175,000 or whatever they make, there's something like $810 million of additional expenses that are distributed. I'm not sure if that's just the House or just the Senate, but that's a heck of a lot of money. So they got a lot of discretion over a lot of money. So it is not that little. And I'm sure that's not the money that's going toward all their portfolios and the stock and everything else they're doing that automatically, within 2 years, you become a multimillionaire? I thought our country was supposed to have been set up where people have regular jobs and then they would go into session to work for the people and then go back to their regular jobs. Well, now it's like a full-time thing with our House and our Senate because of the money they're making and all the vacations they get. Do you get as many vacations in your job? I'm sorry. If you haven't passed certain laws like the SAVE Act, you stay there until you get it worked out. Why is it that it takes years at times to get certain bills passed? Why is it they wait to the last minute before our country's going to be shut down financially? You knew it was coming. It's not like, surprise, someone just put this on my desk. But then again, they have been going on things like, we had the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. You have to pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. It is so ridiculous. So I'll tell you, with what we have right now going on with our commander-in-chief handling so much with the country, ending a 47-year-old war with people that lie, and how we can get that accomplished, not really sure unless you make sure we keep the military there to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. Although this morning, I guess they were busy putting the mines in the Strait of Hormuz. So fortunately, we had our guys and women over there that just kind of blew them out of the water. Hopefully that isn't going to disrupt the negotiations, but most people know my thoughts on what should be done. We needed to do just a little bit more. I know it's not quick enough for you Democrats out there and you liberals. Oh my God, it's like 74 days that this has been going on. No, it's been going on for 47 years. It's a war that has killed thousands and thousands and thousands of people, over 1,000 of which were U.S. citizens, and not even taking into account the 35 to 40,000 of their own people that they slaughtered in a 36-hour period back at the beginning of this year. Come on, get on board. Stop rooting for the enemy. The Democrats and all of you that have the Trump derangement syndrome, knock it off. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. When you speak, it's like, because we know you're not saying anything important for the American people. Again, you are for the illegals in this country. You're for rapists. You're for murderers. You're for giving the CDL driver's license that don't know how to drive and killing U.S. citizens. You go for bat all the time for the criminals. You don't care about your constituency. You don't care at all. No, let's just tax them. Tax the American citizens. You ought to live here in the state of Connecticut. Oh my God. It is just unbelievable what is going on here in Connecticut. the unconstitutional laws that are being passed. It's freaking ridiculous. I cannot wait till Doge gets into Connecticut. So please, anybody who has any contact with anybody who can make a decision on having Doge come in, please come into Connecticut. You think it's bad in Minnesota and California? Look at Connecticut. Look at what has been done to the Constitution state by these Democrats that are in office. We have a governor for the last 8 years has destroyed our economy. And they welcome the illegals. We're a sanctuary state. Well, I'll tell you, we're kind of getting sick and tired of it. And then you add on our Secretary of State who refuses to give the voter rolls to the Department of Justice. Oh, and then we've got an Attorney General Tong. Oh my goodness, any lawsuit anywhere in the country that goes against anything of common sense, he's right there. I mean, his best buddy is Letitia James. So right now, as we speak, there is a lawsuit from 24 states over the March 31st executive order that Trump put out there for the mail-in ballots and being a U.S. citizen, and that the states have to use the voter rolls from the Department of Justice that have been run through a whole bunch of different databases. So we're taking out the dead, we're taking out the illegals, we're taking out the ghost voters, we're taking out the people who are registered in 4 and 5 and 6 states and use those. And within 90 days of the election, if people get added on, it is up to the registrar of voters or the election officials that register the legal voters. They have to prove they're U.S. citizens. And you know what? If they don't, it will be criminal charges against the election officials. Yay. But as we know, this is being heard in DEI, Massachusetts. So expect an appeal to go to the Supreme Court, and then we'll try them, which is what they like to do. That's what our Attorney General likes to do, is waste the taxpayer dollars on something that is so ridiculous, that is common sense, but he's got to fight for the illegals with everything and doesn't give a darn about you or I. Not that I have any opinion, but as I love where I live, my Connecticut. I want my Connecticut back. It's turned into a communist state, literally, and we want it back. And we are hoping this November we will be taking it back. And do we expect the illegal votes that we always get? Of course we do. This is Connecticut, run by Democrats. But we're going to fight it every way we can. So once again, I have no thoughts. Nope, no personal opinions on anything. Tim is cracking up over here, just shaking his head. He deals with me every day. So we want to let people know also, anyone in the New England area, that Fight Voter Fraud on June 27th, we have a barbecue. You can go to our website and check it out. You get sent the emails, and we would love you to have the emails with our programs and everything we send out. Just send an email to info@fightvoterfraud.org, and we will add you on. So once again, thank you everyone for watching us on Rumble, YouTube, OBBM Network TV, Spotify, and the other platforms. Thank you, and we will see you next week.